Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, the Fit and Fab channel, the NBC network, iHealth Radio, with your host, Rick Koenig. This is the H Factor, new day, new show. We're going to have a nice little ride today because my guest is going to take us through a journey of tough times, good times, resilience, perseverance, determination, success, you name it. We're going to talk about fitness, nutrition, martial arts. I mean, the whole thing, and things that life can throw your way. And sometimes, it's tough stuff. So without any further ado, I have with me Rick Koenig. Rick, welcome to the show.
Hurricane, thank you so much. It's an honor. I've been checking out your material. You're a star. So hopefully this sets me off. And I tell people all the time, grab the popcorn and get ready for the shit show.
I like it.
I'm ready to drop a pound of sound, man.
Well, listen, thank you, by the way. Listen, we're trying to do our thing, bring some value to people. And I mean, there's obviously choices out there. People have diversity of, talk shows and programs everywhere. We tend to try to focus on it, and that is inspirational, motivational, educational, enlightening. And, basically we touch on everything that is health, wellness, fitness, motivation, inspiration, which basically if you have all these, you're good in life. And we touch on business, which again, it's part of life. And, definitely we talk mental health, we talk physical health, obviously it's important. Fitness, wellness is a big deal. Now, Rick, we're going to talk about your program and, what you do now is coaching and things like in personal training. But before we do that, you have a very interesting, long life story that needs to be heard. And, there's a lot of lessons learned from that story that hopefully people that are watching and listening, they can learn from it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but they can pick up some stuff that they can actually use in their life towards positive and maybe avoid certain things in life. And I know you're open to discuss this stuff, so it's important. Now you are a martial artist, over 50 years, on and off. You've done a lot of different things. You opened your own dojo. You did all that stuff. You've been an MMA fighter. But before all that stuff, you have a story. You're originally from my digs, I think, Jersey, right?
Originally from South Philly.
Oh, South Philly. Okay, so you know what? You do that. So let's talk about Rick, from early on.
Yeah, growing up on a city block in South Philly, we had about 75 homes. 75 homes per block. And, it's a typical city block. So I walk out my front door, I'm hanging out with about 30 or 40 of my best friends. And really, I don't really have a lot of memory prior to being 4. I just know from my parents that I got into a lot of trouble, a lot of fights, even at a young age. But I do remember, and again, my fondest memory was at the age of 4, on June 27th, 1972, my parents enrolled me in my very first martial art class. And why I know that date is because that's when I turned 4. You had to be 4 years of age to take your very first class. If you wanted to play football, baseball, or basketball, it was 7. My folks couldn't wait to 7. They're afraid I was going to get locked up before then. So at any rate, they enrolled me in my very first class. And my instructor, my sensei, broke my nose. Broke my nose the very first class. He did intentionally mean to hit me. I don't think he meant to break my nose. And Mike Tyson has a saying, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And then kind of that plan just kind of disappears. Well, that's when I fell in love with martial arts. As odd as that might sound, I knew it was for me. I wouldn't say I enjoyed the feeling. I just knew what it was about. It was the first time that I physically got punched in the face. And I was like, oh, this is an eye-opener. And I came back the following day, and my instructor was just shocked. I remember him saying, kid, you're here. And I'm like, black eyes, swollen face. I'm like, well, we signed up. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And now you're going fast forward 51 years later, I'm still somewhat active in martial arts. So that was the beginning of my journey, where I tell everybody, if it wasn't for martial arts, I'd either still be in jail, and I did say still, or I'd be dead. And that's a fact.
So Rick, the subject of martial arts is just, amazing, because you started at 4, I started at 9. So not too far apart in terms of the age group, but you're right. There is people join martial arts for different reasons, but I think the main reason is, it teaches discipline, it gets you organized, it gets you confident, and so on and so forth. And you do appreciate the the irony in fighting, because when you get hit, you would know exactly, like, we have a saying in our, school system, my sons is always saying, the way we train, the way we fight, if somebody hits you, you got to dish it out, you got to pay back, you're going to learn to actually feel those moments, because if you don't get touched, like they say, the back doesn't hit back, right? you know, you
Yeah,
want to feel that.
the more you bleed in school, the less you bleed on the streets.
That's right. So yeah, I mean, if you can, that's exactly right. You bleed in the dojo, you're not going to bleed in the street, because you know how to train not to. And it's an important lesson. And for kids specifically, it is a big, place, whether to stabilize your fighting skills and not get you like in trouble, or maybe get you a place where you can just let it out, and you can do it the right way and train with other people and throw them down and get punched and punch and go all that stuff. But there is no ramification to that. I mean, other than, I mean, obviously you don't want to hurt someone, but certainly in training, you get all that energy out without having to compensate in the street. And it's a different place. Plus, it teaches you, anyone that's in martial arts would know this. You don't train martial arts to go around looking for fights. I have not met one person that is in martial arts that they have a DNA of the arts that goes on looking for fights. You don't. I mean, it just doesn't happen. And if you get two martial artists, head to head in the street, they will probably bow down and kind of say, you know what, I appreciate you. We don't have to go there, because we know the outcomes. One of us is going to get hurt, and and one of us is going to go to jail or to a grave. It doesn't pay. As I always say, the best fight is the one that never happened. If you can avoid a fight, why not? Now, when do you fight? If you have no choice, if you have to save a life, to save yours, to defend yourself, and even that you have to do with limitations, because depends on your magnitude or level. You can be very hurtful to others if you put all your techniques and your knowledge into it. I mean,
Oh,
you know,
I agree 100%. And whether you win or lose, you still bruise.
I love it. See, that's a good one.
Win or lose, you still bruise. You might break your hand. I mean, there's all kinds of things. And like you just said, just the self discipline of knowing what you can do to that individual gives you more confidence to kind of walk away. Saying, you know what, you're not going to take it as far as I am. I know it. It's going to end bad for you, but it's also going to end bad for me, because I'm probably going to get locked up, because of the damage I did to you. And now any more of these, you just got to be worried about them having a gun. I mean, I know Jersey, Philadelphia, New York, their gun laws are pretty more restricted opposed to out here in the Midwest. This is the wild, wild West. You don't need to have a permit. You can purchase a gun from anybody. You can open carry. I mean, that was the first thing that blew my mind, living in a tri-state area for 42 years and moving out here to Branson, Missouri, how free they are with their guns. I mean, it was an eye opener. And you want to catching a case of road rage out here. You come walk into somebody's car, their legal right is to kill you. I mean, it's in the laws. Now they're gonna go through a process and questionnaire and probably get locked up. But ultimately, in the court of law, they have the right to kill you. Which I try to tell people all the time, all my buddies back home in Jersey and Philly, be careful of that road rage. I mean, it's something that you don't want to take lightly anymore. And today's society's changed a lot. I mean, we're you're younger than I, but we grew up in the 70s and 80s, and you didn't see as much as that as you see today. And it's pretty scary if you think about it, because I think a lot of these young kids, they don't even think of the consequences before they even do it. And then they're locked up for the rest of their life, and they're crying like little babies because what they did. Well, you should have thought about it before you pulled the gun, stupid. So, again, it's a lose-lose situation. But martial arts, again, for even youngsters, very important for the discipline. Very important. I mean, considering all the discipline I had at a very young age, and again, with my anger issues and things that I do, I got myself in fair trouble. I mean, Hurricane, I did. I mean, I was in juvenile detention center before I went to adult prison, things of that nature. So I know for a fact, if I wasn't in martial arts, I would have probably still been in prison or dead. So even at my magnitude, it calmed me down, but I was still a wild child. I really was. And, we talk about not using it on the street. I was in situations the majority of my life, in neighborhoods the majority of my life, that I was tested. I was tested on a daily basis, and it wasn't typically for my own peers. It was the older bullies. When you're 9, 10, 11, and these kids are 16, 17, and 18, that's a big difference. Now, when you get into your 30s, 40s, and 50s, it kind of evens back up. But at a young age, you're looking at an adult, and you're still a kid. You didn't even hit puberty yet, and this guy's testing you of your manhood. So I will have to be honest with you. I used a lot of the skills that I learned on the streets and made sure that they were battle tested. And that's what kind of catapulted me into getting into MMA and things of that nature in the late 80s, early 90s, because it wasn't for money. You weren't making money. You were lucky to make $500 at the time. It was to go in there and show your art, show your hard work, show what you were about. And it was considered crazy. I mean, it wasn't legal in states. You had Senator McCain going around state to state calling it human cockfighting. I mean, New York was probably one of the last states that actually sanctioned it for fights. I mean, it was tough for the UFC, Dana White, and the Ferretta brothers to get it up and running. And now they're billionaires, zillionaires. I mean, it's unbelievable. On a $2 million investment, what Dana White turned that UFC into is just amazing. My props off to Dana White.
Yeah, I'm listening to you, and you've touched on quite a bit there. And thank you for sharing that value that you were essentially bullied by those big guys. And
Yep.
by the way, and one of the reasons I got into martial arts was that I was also bullied by those guys around the corner in the neighborhood. They're bigger and you're tinier, and I was a tiny kid, so that's easy. Like, you're the easy prey. And until the day you kind of put it to the test. Now, I only fought a couple times in my whole life in real, in the street. But those two times, I had the upper hand.
Good.
and they knew what's up.
That's
So
good.
the first
Taught them a
one,
valuable lesson.
the first one was when I got bullied again after, because they especially when you're in martial arts, they want to test you. That's the other part. Like, oh,
Crazy.
that shit doesn't work. Well,
Right.
the only way to find out, bring it on, baby. And that's exactly what happened. They, one day they wanted to feel what it looked like, and I showed them what's up, and that discussion and respect became, part of our, curriculum and discussion and, vocabulary. So we were good after that. And it only happened one time I was in college, and, these thugs came out of this vehicle,
college.
stayed. Yeah. There's older, and these guys were just like Hayden, and they came out, and literally one had a knife, one had a stick, and
Wow.
they came out, and I took the two guys out, and the third one, was not happy, and then we ended that, and then the other people came in, the fight was done, and it was good. That's it. After that, I never had the opportunity to actually get into this shit, and frankly, that was only me doing just karate. That was back in the days.
That's great.
In the last 20 years, I've learned a lot more, skilled, arts of the fighting and close combat stuff. And
the techniques down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've transited from karate to taekwondo over the years, and then I went to ninjutsu or bushi, the bushikan, stuff, and the bushido arts, and so it's a little bit more of hands-on contact, which includes aikido,
I love aikido,
jiu-jitsu, all the stuff, and weaponry and stuff. So it's like I always say, like you said it best, what damage you can do to someone. People don't realize, most people punch and kick. That's really the gist of most of the fights. You see the brawls, that's what it is. People throwing punches, and they swing at people, and that's it. Now you impact the face. I love what you said, when you get a hit in the face, you know exactly what it feels like. By the way, I shared that history with you. I actually got my nose broken a couple of times, so trust me. I know.
You know how it feels.
I know how it feels with that bruise.
I fell in love with
it. We have a joke about it, because when it happened to me testing. We were actually in an actual test, and in tests you don't give, you just go, and this actually, we were sparring with knives, and there was just a back hit, and it just came to the nose, and I was like, poof. I mean, and it's really, it hurt. I mean, but in the test you gotta swallow that pride, and you just take it. Actually, we did. We kept, and even our professors like, man, you guys, you guys are crazy. I'm like, listen, we're testing. You want that belt, and you're gonna go for it no matter what. And so eventually, like a week later, we had a camp training, and this was like multiple schools, once a year training. They all come in, and you got all the different professors and shehans from different systems come in and do demos. And so our top professor or sensei came in, and like he looked, like his son looked at him. He's like, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, "Don't worry about him," because he knew what happened. He was actually, it happened in front of him in his because he was the one testing us. So it was like fun. It's a memory that is unique. Most people probably will listen right now, like, you guys are talking about broken noses. Yeah, you would not. You're not gonna feel that. If you're not into the art, you're not gonna know that. But not that we recommend to go and find out about broken noses, folks. But it happens when you're in the art. Listen, if you're in the martial arts, you gotta get hurt.
You
You
have to.
just know that you're gonna get pain. Pain is part of your vocabulary when you train, and it becomes part of you. You take a lot more pain than the average person. You can take a hit versus the person that's not trained, because you're not afraid to get hit. That's one. And the other part about it is, as you said, you bruise, you bleed there. You're not going to bleed in the street.
Right.
And that's what it is. So you train rough, and you break bones. I broke a couple of things. Sprained some ankles.
Yeah.
You get bruised, cut. You got blues. And all over your body when you finish. Now, I mean, especially when we're kicking and punching, and you do using batons and using sticks and stuff like that. Things do
Accidents
happen.
happen.
Oh yeah, it happens. Now, of course,
Accidents happen. I mean, that's part of it. I used to tell my students all the time, you're going to hurt, bottom line. But when you're injured, you're out. Meaning that if you broke something or things of that nature, hey, you got to nurse it. A lot in jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu itself. I tell people, if you last 6 months and you're not hurt, there's a problem. If you're not injured, you're going to do something. And I've had 9 knee surgeries, opened up 9 times, total hip replacement, my back, tendons, ligaments, you name it. I just had a big ego. I didn't like to tap. And I tell my students all the time, I said, tapping is taking your medicine. Because when you take medicine, you do what? You get better. So just don't have an ego, tap, and don't snap. I used to snap, and now at the age of 55, I'm feeling those injuries. They're coming back. There's no such thing as a free lunch. If I just didn't have the ego and just did that little tap noise on their body or whatever, I would have saved myself a lot of bad injuries. So no ego. Everybody has an ego. Just try to check the majority at the door.
Rick, thank you for that, because that is an important, piece. And I am a big tapper.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
You'll last long.
I take pain, but here's the thing. I want to, be able to do more. If I hurt, I'm just going to stop, and I don't want to do that. So when if you can show me that the technique is working, then all I have to do is tap. It's working. I feel pain. I got it. You got it.
You got to take yourself to that threshold, because if you do it too premature, that's something that you'll do on the street. You'll give up
of course.
On the street. I mean, and I tell that to my guys who compete. I mean, these guys, a lot of them don't even attend the fight on the streets, obviously if they don't have to. But in competition, if they put you in a chokehold or a joint manipulation and you're used to tapping right away, well, you're going to probably do that in competition as well. So repetition is the mother of skill. Just take it to the edge right there. Know your body. Accidents do happen. I mean, I've tore both of my tendons in my biceps, triceps, tore all my quad tendons in both of my legs. That was probably the worst injuries that I ever had. And my total hip replacement was probably my easiest. I would have done it a long time ago if the procedure was what it is today. Like anything else, they further they advance in their surgeries. And again, what I had done about 3 years ago, if I tried it 13 years ago, I would probably have been a little more chopped up. So they're coming a long way with their different techniques, I'm going to call it, and their principles and things of that nature. So thank goodness.
Well, listen, I mean, technology has been, in medicine, and innovations have been good. Surgery is definitely not the best thing. I mean, not the one thing you want, But if you have to have it, you have it. But at least now it's a much better, place, and the healing process is different. The
100%.
I guess it's less invasive, and and
It
things like
is.
that. So it's simpler, and it's done better. I mean, you have the technology to do it better. But
Thank, good- Thank goodness.
yeah, well, yeah, man. Well, Rick, thank you for what you said. I mean, I when I said I'm a tapper, I want to just that to touch on that. It's
100%.
you tap when somebody shows you that they got you. Meaning that's it. I mean, you're in a choke. You're gonna sleep after that, or you're gonna break a bone. So that's it. That you're gonna carry a little bit. Your body's gonna have a point of a break point, and then poof,
Yep.
and then oops. You don't have to go there because here's the thing, and that part of when you advance training, it's very simple. You don't just give up until the person takes the technique away from you. When they take it away, when they got you, they got you. They lock you down. There's no movement anymore. There's nothing else you can do. It's a done deal. It's a wrap. You
It's
tap.
a matter of seconds.
Exactly. So now it's like, I don't know, like ego does not have a place in that play in the mat because it's gonna get you hurt, and
Gonna get
or it's
you
gonna
out.
get you like expelled. I mean, there are schools that will kick you out if you're out of control because
Oh, no
you're not
doubt.
gonna be. Yeah, I mean, you people come to train, and you don't want for them to be hurt,
You don't
because
want a
that
bad
and
apple, man. No bad apples.
that's right.
I've
Well, you
seen it.
could.
I've seen it happen. I've
Well,
seen it happen so many times. You know, it's our duties as instructors to find those bad apples and pluck them out. It doesn't do anybody any good. It doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that they have a learning disability, and it's not going to happen at my school. And unfortunately, I've had numerous. I wouldn't say dozens or anything like that, but I'd say probably about 6 to 10 people that I really had to get stern with and break it down to them. Bottom line, and the majority of them took it well. And some of the guys came back. Some of the guys I had came back. They learned their lesson. They went and somebody handed them their lunch, and they realized that okay, maybe I just need to get my head out of my butt and do what the instructor's telling me to do. And it's pretty easy.
well, Rick, thank you for that because here's the thing. Listen, folks, everybody that is good at what they do, they're good at what they do, but there's always someone better. There's always another guy that it's either someone who's younger, faster, this, that, the other, and it doesn't matter. It's not even an age because in martial arts, age really. I mean, yeah, it has some to do with it, but
Little bit.
actually, but when you get into advanced martial arts, I mean, the older you are in the art, I'm not talking the age in the art and the ranking that you have, you just basically have a different way of approaching your opponent and your techniques are flawless and you can do more damage than because you trained all your life. You're at a level where it's not very difficult to actually figure things out and see things happen. So that's really what happens. And unfortunately, the younger folks, I'm not talking age in the ranking or the lower rank, usually does not have that maturity yet. And so that's what happens. You kind of tend to like you want to challenge everybody. Oh, I'm gonna take the brown belt and the black belts. I think I can take them down. You know,
Sure.
and you look at the size and you size them up like, oh, I'm 6 foot. This person is 5'8", 5'7". I'm a bigger guy. I think I can still do this. It's not about size. It's not about stuff. When they know what they do, what they
Technique.
have, they'll take you down. It doesn't matter how big you are. It's not again, these are the arts. That's why it's called arts. There's artistic stuff to it. There's techniques to it. There's a whole, body manipulation that goes in. So the arts are just beautiful for those that I admire the martial arts, all of them. And as a matter of fact, on the Fit and Fat, Facebook page, I throw in all kind of different arts: judo, aikido, BJJ, karate,
Why not?
all like sword stuff. You name it, we put it there because I love all of them. And you know what? You pick from everybody, and
It's an
that's
art.
the beauty of it. Yeah, it's
It's an
it's
art.
it's like
I'd
when you
rather do
love
that
art,
than
you love.
mold clay. I'd rather do that than paint. I mean, people don't realize that's why it's called martial arts. It is an art, and it's a beautiful art. It really is. And being so diverse as you are, you're just getting to see all the beauty of each individual one, which is amazing. Because a lot of people just get pig-headed and they believe their art's the best art, and no, it's not. They're all beneficial, and the more you know, that's just more tools in your arsenal. Bottom line, you got different tools that you can reach for that you can use that if you just stick to one in particular, you're stuck with that. And I'll give you an example. Nothing against Brazilian Jiu Jitsu because I'm a second degree black belt, which in my point of time used to take about 20 to 25 years on up. Now guys are getting ranked a little quicker because you have the internet, YouTube. It's more accessible and it's Americanized. You're not getting held back by a lot of Brazilians that used to do it. Somebody, again, they made a lot of money. They just like how the Asians came over here with karate. Until Bruce Lee actually, publicized it, they got upset about that. Well, it's the same thing with jiu-jitsu. However, the reason why I got involved with Brazilian jiu-jitsu is because of the MMA, one-on-one. Now, you find yourself on the ground, on the streets at Walmart, I tell people all the time, get back on your feet. Do not do any of your, if you have to get out of a certain, maybe if they have you mounted or things of that nature, yes, use your technique, but by all means necessary, get back on your feet. You don't know if their buddy's coming around the corner or their friend or whomever with a stick in their hand, a bat, and 2-on-1, 3-on-1, and you're on the ground, typically you're going to lose. At least you have a fighting chance when you're on your feet. So I was always a strong believer in the stand-up. Again, I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but let's just keep it real. When you're outnumbered, standing up, it's tough, let alone being on the ground.
Well, Rick, I love what you said there because, first of all, hats off to the BJJ guys. They master the ground. Let's call it what it is. You're on the floor, you'll be done. If they catch you down there, we train grappling in our art, so we train similar techniques. Basically the same techniques as BJJ, and but we're nowhere. That's not our focus in terms of the training. Because we do all kind of different things. But we know how to handle ourselves on the ground, things like that, chokes, the arm blocks, the leg, locks and all those things, and the arm bars and things. But when you get someone who's dedicated to the floor, they take you down, and that's when they do the work. They're gonna be better than you no matter what. That's what that is 100% their game. Now you're right, and when we stand in, like for us, for example, it's not so much the fight and stuff; it's taking down people. Basically you get in, it's close quarters, you got to take them down, and then you lock them somehow. They got to be finished, right? Okay. And but that's all there is. Now, if you don't do it right, and now you're in a fighting position there, now whoever is better, at the mat is going to do better, right? Or whoever is faster in the kicks, that probably can get you. Professor used to be very pissed when someone, if he says, "I want you to take somebody down," and you try to get them down, and obviously then they're not going to just let you do it. They fight you back, and you're not able to take them down. And now you're in a fight. He used to gets banana. He really, goes nuts because, dude, I didn't ask you to spar. I asked you to take them down. So
right.
you take the technique and you practice your technique, unless they're on the ground, on their feet. Yeah, that's it. So you got to
be a good partner.
Exactly. Well, you got to work. But what you said is important is that there is one thing, well, it's almost like a rule that we have. And that is you fight one, you fight two, you fight two, you fight three. Always know that there's never one. So if and by the way, you look around, when was the last time you saw someone going by themselves? In general, when you're going out, there's always 2 or 3 people in the posse.
Absolutely.
And there's always like the first and the second are the ones that are going to come up, and maybe the third one will be more hesitant because they don't want to get in trouble. But at the end of the day, you're going to get at least a couple, if not more. Yep. And to deal with a multiple attack, it's not this is not the movies unless you train. Listen, I've had my share of those types of trainings, but it is not a picnic. People are going to come at you with everything. They can have guns, knives, whatever. They can throw anything, a chair, things can go, anything. Yeah. Especially like in a bar on the street, things happen, right?
Absolutely.
And so you don't know what's going to come up. So understand that if you're on the floor, your odds are less. Listen, we even trained when you do two against one for grappling, just for the sake of it, not because you're going to win.
Love it.
You have 2, you're not going to win.
I love it.
Two people are going to, smother you quickly, but it's how long you're going to resist, those 2.
The experience.
You resist 2, you're probably going to be easier with 1. So those are like some of the things that we were, on, but right on the point that if you have to defend yourself. Again, you want to be in a position. You don't want to be cornered. You want to have always an open, exit, policy. And by the way, I can tell you this: there's no shame if you have to run.
better to run away to fight another day.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. Like people are like, oh, I can't take this. Dude, it's okay. First
Kick
of all,
rocks.
as we said, you don't fight. You can. And remember, like I love what you said about where you live.
Yeah.
People have depends on where you are. They don't have
Yeah.
to fight you.
Oh no.
They can just pull a gun and it's twenty
They're
five
quick.
cents and you out.
They're quick to do it.
Yeah,
You know,
and they're very quick. They're very
it,
sharp with their gun techniques.
well, and again, for any reason, if they are frightened, again, like I said with road rage, you jump out of a car and they see this big monster coming out to their car, they're gonna resist. They're gonna do something because again, they could be scared for their life, and all they know is that they're trying to save it.
That's
So
right.
you
Again,
gotta be careful. You gotta be aware and prepared at all times, especially in today's times, because there's just a lot of chaos going on out there, and you never know if you catch that person on the wrong day, the wrong
the thing,
hour.
we all have a bad day, and
Yeah,
sometimes you get to the point where you don't care that day, and
that's
the
right.
wrong guy triggers you at the wrong time, and then you have a problem in your hands, and you don't know what will be the next move, and a split decision can make life, death,
Everything.
or really loss of family and everything, just like that in a snap moment. So, folks, always be careful. Here's another tip that I always throw out there is that in when you train, and even if you're not training martial arts, training yourself to be aware. Don't get into if you see a situation that is not a fair play, whatever move. Listen, I see some, as you said, you walk in the streets or whatever. There's other guys out there. If I see a group of people that may not be welcoming to my moving around their territory, I'll just go to the other side. I don't have to go
Avoid it.
there and challenge them, because I
No,
think I can do a couple of things. No, here's
that's
when you
something that
have.
you would probably regret.
That's right. What I would tell you is this: is like challenging them is not going to do anything for you. It's not, and so even if you win,
Yep.
you will lose because you're probably going to hurt them bad, and you're going to
And
win 5 or 6, you're going to hurt someone bad,
win
and
or
therefore,
lose, you still bruise.
exactly, not going to work, not fun.
No,
So again, be aware of your surroundings and environment. Avoid
100%.
see what's up. If you don't, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. Move on. Find another way. Go back. Switch the road. Whatever you have to do. But don't get like cocky about it and like, hey, I want to do this. I got this. Not worth it. Not worth it. Well, so Rick, we've talked enough about martial arts and things. And it's pretty. Listen, we can talk for
We can
hours.
talk all day about that. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
but so there is. You mentioned a couple of things that you went to juvie and then you went to adult.
Correct.
Prison.
Yep.
Now there's a story behind that. Can you share a little bit about that
Well, again,
and what that lesson was?
which one you want first? The juvenile, I'm assuming, right? And
Yeah,
again, I'm just being honest, Hurricane. My anger, my violent behavior landed me up in juvenile detention centers. I look at it. I was just trying to defend myself. Unfortunately, the damage that was done to other individuals had a judge pretty upset with me. Bottom line is he got sick of seeing my name, and it was always for a violent act. And even though I was defending myself, he just saw a pattern right there that he wanted to stop, and he didn't think martial arts was enough. So I had to go to a camp at the age of 9, which was more like I kind of consider like a scared straight program, where they kind of you're not locked up. Now, when I was 13, I went to Jonesboro and I went to Yardville, and they were juvenile detention centers. But at the age of 9, I was more like in a scare straight program. When I was 13, when I went to Yardville, and again, it was all from fighting. It was all from fighting. So again, it just shows you right there. Is your freedom worth being in a box? Being in a 6x8. And at the age of 13, that was a little bit of an eye opener because of you're yanked from your family, your loved ones. Now you're with a bunch of other guys that have the same exact behavior issues as you, and you're fighting every day. Again, it's gladiator school. So you're just around a bunch of knuckleheads going, not again, not again, not again. You got sick and tired of it. You really did. And it was constant. So I believe, after my stretch there, that was an eye opener for me. It really was. It was. I knew I didn't want to go back. So I would say I learned how to calm my anger a lot after that. But it took me doing time as a young kid to open my eyes to that. So that's another lesson to be learned. You don't want to be in prison. You don't want to be in juvenile detention centers. It's not a place that you're going to like at all, and it's going to be probably one of your most miserable experiences ever.
It also destroys. I mean, for the most part, if you could destroy your life because it's on your record.
Absolutely.
I mean, today.
I still have it on my record, Hurricane. I'm 55 and it's still on my record to this day. And I have lost jobs over it.
Mhm, mhm.
So
It closes a lot of doors.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So like I said, it's definitely, that's not a lesson that you want to find out on your own. Learn from somebody that did it.
Well, thank you for that. Now you came out, you pursued, you started working and
Mhm.
back into the normal life, but only to find yourself in a very tough place yet again, but for a different reason.
Which one?
Well, with the whole the main event of going
You
to,
mean doing prison?
yeah.
Prison time itself? Yeah, that was just dealing drugs. Dealing drugs. I mean, it's nothing I'm proud about, but my sentence was possession with the intent to distribute a controlled dangerous substance. It was cocaine. And yeah, that landed me behind bars for 5 years, and that was maximum state security. I went through Rawway. You're familiar with Rawway, Trenton State, which was probably one of my worst stops. I was in Yardville, or not Yardville, Kearney, New Jersey. Um,
Those are some tough places.
Kearney's rough, man. Yeah, it's they're all rough. You know what I mean? Like it's not where you want to be. And then wound up in Cape May County, Leesburg. So that was my father and I. It was a father and son crime. He was involved as well, and we were the first father and son team to ever go through the penitentiary, maximum state security penitentiary together. So that was a trip. It really is. And honestly, by that time, I was somewhat groomed. I knew how it was going to be. Always people will say, well, I'd be petrified. There's no way I could do it. Listen, as long as you go in there with the mindset of you're going in there to serve your time, do your time. Don't let your time do you. Stay away from drugs. Stay away from gambling. Stay away from anything that you believe is negative. Like you said, walk away from a situation when you see it. Don't get involved. Don't get curious. Mind your business and do your time. And the majority of the time, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And again, it's something that it was a miserable part of my life. It was. And I've seen horrific things happen in prison. I mean, things that, I won't speak of. But I've seen some things that will make people think twice about ever doing anything stupid. And there's casualties on a daily basis. I've seen COs get killed. I've seen other inmates get killed right in front of me. And when you see the life just get drained from a human's eyes, you actually see their soul leaving. Man, that's an eye opener right there. It's an eye closer for them, an eye opener for you.
Well. So thank you for sharing that. And the reason we're talking about this specifically, folks, is that as you said best, is why go through the experience when you can avoid it altogether? It's not worth anything. It is not a fun experience. And you said it. Once you're in it, you got to deal with it and you have to cope with it. But it's not something that you can just erase. It's in your mind. As you said, these visuals, I guarantee you, as you were describing whatever that you saw, you had the full picture in front of your eyes right now as you were talking about it. You can see that moment over 100%. And over in your mind. That is trauma on its own. And, it's something that simply can be avoided. I mean, again, mistakes happen. In the first event that you had the position, that actually, again, so folks, again, this is, everybody can actually be sometimes, caught into these little things. I don't want people, because people can judge, folks. Rick is talking because he's been through this, and certainly he doesn't want people to go through this. His mistakes should
I don't condone any of my actions at all. It's something that I got tied up into that could have been avoided. But at that point in time, I was young. I was 21 years old, 22. And I was stupid. But I'll give you an example. And I tell people all the time, if they want to watch a good movie out there, watch Shot Caller. shot caller. It's probably the closest that you're going to get to actually seeing actual prison itself and the behavior of inmates and things of that nature. It's a great movie, but that just comes from a guy. He was a CEO of a company, and he had one too many drinks. It was enough, and the guy ran a stop sign, hit his car, killed his buddy in the back. But since he was under the influence, they got him for involuntary manslaughter. And then when he got into prison, he had to do work, meaning that he had to get involved with a group in there that basically told him, if you do not do this to this individual, it's going to get done to you. So he took something that was going to last maybe 8-9 months in state prison into 15 years. And that stuff is real. I mean, it is real as it's going to get. And again, it's one of those deals. I mean, all depending on the institution or the prison you're at, certain facilities are going to make you do work, and it's not going to be fun work. And a lot of times they're uncomfortable telling you what needs to be done. But again, if you don't do it, it gets done to you.
I mean, again, it's just it's a world on its own, and it's got its own rules.
Yep.
And I mean, I would describe it as, like you said. I mean, these are all. If you think you're bad, these are all people that just think the same. They're just badass, right? And so,
we said it too, Hurricane. I don't care how tough you are, because you'd see guys come in. Oh, I know MMA, I know jiu-jitsu. Well, I know 7 of my homies are going to just come on you, and you're not going to win. And I've seen it happen to the baddest guys that try to resist. They get DP'd, 2 or 3 times, man. They don't want any more, man. They start to cooperate a little bit. So, you can avoid all that hassle and just not go to prison.
Listen, again, this is exactly what we're doing here. Is like first, I mean, there's a good positive story beyond all this. Is
sure.
Rick's coming back and taking care of business. But these are lessons to be learned. And by the way, for anyone around the world, it's probably the same or worse in other parts. Just know that. So any correctional facility in the world is probably going to be a tough place for anyone. And especially if you're not cut out for it. I mean, as you said, a CEO that, you're a nice little softy. Yep. I mean, I'm not, and by the way, it's not putting down, the CEO.
No, it's a fact.
But you're not a street thug, someone who actually is born and raised, in a tough neighborhood and can't handle themselves. That's just not how it is. Now, we're not judging. People can be CEOs coming from any difficult neighborhoods. That's not what we're saying here. It's just that, when you hear a CEO, you probably visualize someone who has been well-educated, and in a different level in terms of lifestyle. And then here you're being thrown into the Shark Tank. You're basically Nemo in the Shark Tank. Not going to be cool.
That's 100% correct. I mean, they're just groomed a different way, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's living in a perfect world. However, we don't live in a perfect world, and the majority of us aren't spoon-fed. For the ones that are, God bless. As long as you turned it into a positive thing, and you're not a pompous prick, judgmental on people and condescending, I'm cool with you. But if you're one of those arrogant guys, I don't care who you are, you're going to get it. I mean, I have no tolerance for people that are ignorant to other people. I go out with a lot of people that I always see how they treat the waiter or the waitress, for the simple fact, if they start treating that waiter or waitress in a certain manner, I get in on them. Like, this person's trying to make a living. Don't talk to them like you're their boss, because you're not. They're providing the service, and treat them correctly. So I do a lot of self-evaluating on a lot of people that I'm with, for the simple fact that my time is precious, and I don't want to associate with people that are going to make me feel some type of way and give me some type of negative impact.
Well, I thank you for that, because you're right. I mean, again, titles should not make people, judge others, because here's the thing: you can be a CEO today and you can be an inmate the next day. Just in that case, you can be, a nobody and become, a CEO of a place. That's just what you earn in terms of your work and things. And here we just given the titles and just to give an actual descriptive. But 100%. The fact of the matter is, humans, we should all look, good at others, no
equally.
matter what. Everybody is here in this world just to do the same basic things, to live a happier life, achieve certain things in life, and hopefully stuff. But you're right, not everybody gets the same odds or the same cards. We all dealt different cards, and everybody's different. You have people that are born overseas, people are over in the States, people are in the States in a different neighborhood versus others. You never know. You don't choose, some of these things. Now, how you deal with them can determine your lifespan and what's going to happen in that life. Some
100%.
decisions can be bad. As you said, you make the wrong decisions, you're going to pay. And I love you said I was young and, in the age of
Young and
21
dumb. Yeah.
and okay, I didn't want to
Oh,
call that, but I love that, your honesty about that. But here's the thing, guys, that is an age. And if you know statistically from I think 18 to like 25, a lot of the crime is happening with that age group more than anybody else because people don't have value for life. They have no kids, they have nothing. So there's no attachment to a lot of things, and then and psychiatrically speaking, like even development wise, according to the experts, we don't even have our full development on our in our brain functions, right? So we're not even there. We don't even have an identity at that point. So it's very easy to make mistakes. It's also gullible time where you can be distracted quickly and attracted into by the wrong crowds to do the wrong thing. So again, folks, we're just trying to
100%.
bring real. This is real.
Yep.
Rick is as real as it gets, is someone just like everybody else who came to this world trying to live a life, but made mistakes, and he paid for those dues. And that's the thing. Do you want to pay the dues? I mean, it's not fun. It's the same thing as you said. If the fight, you need to know that there is ramifications, there's repercussions in every single action we do, and there's no doubt about that. As you said, that judge, just saw enough of you, and he said, "Okay, well, we're gonna put you there," and that's all it took. And then ultimately, you are now exposed to more and more, and then one thing leads to the other. Now you're into a different place. That's the other thing. If you think about it, right, it's a chain reaction.
This.
It's really one thing gets the other. Now you come out, you can't get a regular job, let's say. Now what are you going to do? You're going to find side jobs or side gigs, and it will be easy to make some money and to win the bad things. And then that's a risk factor, and your risk is higher. And now you're going to get into, and we see this in movies. We see, and by the way, those movies are just depictions of realities. I mean,
Right.
that we live across our nations, and it is fact, and there's nothing you can do. So again, folks, for me, a motivational and inspirational piece, we do not want to go in any route that is going to get us to those, outings or outcomes or outlets or whatever, facilities that we don't have to be there. You said it best. Is your freedom worth it? No. I mean, everybody, loves their freedom. I mean, just think about very simple, folks. We all went through the pandemic. How did it feel when we could not move about and do things the way we usually do them? I mean, that's
Never
the
get
biggest
back.
way. I'm
You
sorry.
can't never get time back. You can get money back. You can't get time back.
Like, I think that's the biggest element in this whole picture is that your time is limited. We all have an expiration date, and we all, even your health is gonna go with the time. No matter
Absolutely.
how strong you are,
Yep.
as you get age, you can maintain, but you're not the same as 20 or 30 or 40. As you get every decade, you have a little bit less of what you had, and you can gain it back. And so now you're losing the time, you're losing the health, you're losing the stuff. Not good for anyone. And by the way, this is not, if you're watching and listening, this is not a direct message to anyone in particular, but we all can help someone. If we see the pattern, we see somebody that may be going in the wrong way, maybe we should help them out, guide them, give them some advice. Now, people sometimes, who the hell are you? I don't need your advice. And someone can say that to our show, like, well, who cares about you people there? I don't care. I want to do me. Well, that's okay, folks. If that's the choice, again, choices. We make the choice. We pay the price for our choices. No one is going to pay the price for you except you. And that's really what it is. So again, just a little bit, here and there to share some value here. Now, after all this, you came out and you started, your own school,
Okay.
and then you started your own training program.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about all
I know Henzo. Henzo's right around the corner from you in Manhattan. Trained under a lot of his students as well when they started to receive their black belts. And when I moved out here to Branson, It was a tough transition for me. Living in the tri-state area for 42 years, I moved out here, and if you had noticed, I'm blasted from head to toe with tattoos. And I moved into the Bible Belt. So I was prejudged a lot when I moved out here, a ton. And again, having the felony on my record didn't help with the jobs. So I had a few people that got into my ear about starting a martial arts school. And at that point in time, I still wanted just to train. I really didn't want to open up a school, but I was kind of, I wouldn't say forced into it. I was talked into it, which I don't have any regrets at all. And I started the very first Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school here in Branson, Missouri. And I was very, very fortunate that a lot of my students that came on board were state highway patrolmen, sheriff's department, local PD. So I wanted to get in the contracts for all the law enforcers out here, which obviously helped out. And believe it or not, I mean, it's a different breed. They are judgmental, but they're not. Let's put it that way. It's different. I got along with them really well. They became some of my best friends. Back in Jersey and Philly, forget it. You're not, you know what I mean? It's a whole different set of rules, man. Like, you're a felon, yeah. Well, you stay on that side, we stay on this side. You're an Indian, we're a cowboy, right? But I started, I started to create a living out here. So I started to open up school, started to train, and I did well, But I always found a pattern through all my years. Within every 5 to 7 years, you're going to get a group that gets together and, somebody's ranked to a purple belt or brown belt. They think they can do it better than you. So, and I'm usually on the money on who it is. I, had a bet with my financial investor with me. And I had an individual that tried to do this when I was getting my hip replaced. They figured this is a great time. He might not even come back from it. Okay, I came back stronger, and I had a boycott. So I had to split, and I lost a lot of my instructors. So I bounced back from that and was doing well. But like I was telling you before Hurricane, I started to lose the passion. And I will tell everybody, every time I step onto this mat, I have to earn that black belt that I'm wearing. Bottom line, it's a daily operation. For any reason, I do not misrepresent it. I don't take it for granted. It is something that I have to earn every time I walk onto the mats. And when I started to lose the passion and I'm looking at my clock, wondering is it almost time to stop teaching, that's when I knew it was time to bow off the mats. And that was probably about 9 months ago. However, I always stayed involved in personal training. I've been a personal trainer now for 37 years. So it's always been my anchor. I love the weights. I get something out of that one-on-one training that I cannot get anywhere else, where I had that solitude and it's just me and the iron, me and the weights. And again, it's that body connection, the body muscle connection right there. And I started that up. I started my online business where I train people all over the country, and it took off. I mean, it took off when COVID hit. When COVID hit and everybody was locked down, people weren't going to the gyms. They didn't know where to train. So I came up with a system, and like I said, it's been taken off. It has. So I've been very fortunate. I've been blessed. Here at my school, I got 10,000 square feet. I have about 25 clients that I train on a weekly basis, which is one-on-one. I'm an invite-only gym. So again, if you're not invited, you're not allowed here. And I love it because we were talking about that one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. I can't have that because we're a group community and we hold each other accountable every day. I actually do something that I learned in prison. It's roll call, where you wake up every morning and you shout out. Well, I throw morning texts out every morning at 2:30 or 3 a.m. That's the time I wake up Monday through Sunday. I do not take a day off. It's part of my non-negotiable task. Every morning I'm waking up at 2:30 a.m. I kind of get my mind right. I do my push-ups, I pray, and I throw out roll call. So now all of my clients are responsible to, when they receive that, to say up. And everybody's on their phone, Hurricane. I don't care what they tell you. Oh, I'm taking a break from Facebook. I'm taking a break from Instagram. No, they're not. They're on their phone scrolling through it. They just put the blocks on it. So everybody can at least say up. And I track them. So if I see a pattern where every morning at 3:30 or 4 a.m., because I start my classes at 5 a.m., if Monday through Friday you're up at 4:30, and then I see on Saturday and Sunday you're hitting me at 11 a.m., 12 noon, 1 p.m., you're going to get a phone call. I might even show up to your house and ask what's going on. Were you out partying, playing grab ass with your buddies? Are you having marital issues? Significant other issues? Are you having problems with your kids? Are you depressed? Do you have anxiety? I get to the core principles of your problem, and we come up with a solution.
Ooh, wow. I well, first of all, so there's a few things that you've touched on. One is after all the ordeals in life came up, you moved up to a whole different area, started a whole new life. And,
Right.
and that in itself, folks, is something that, as I stated when I opened up the show, is that there's some resilience, there's perseverance, determination, and there's also hope here because life is going to throw all kind of nonsense to us. Oh, and by the way, there is no one that is immune to this. Uh, we all have different things that happen to us in life, and
Absolutely.
but here's the thing: no matter what, there is a way to restart. There's always a good way to start. There's always a way. And if one location is not good for you, you move to another location. In this case, you moved out of state. You found a whole new home. You build a
Yeah.
whole new family and a whole new community. And that's the thing. Sometimes we are so caught into one area or one element, and we just feel that we are trapped. We're not trapped. No one is. You can move from one country to the other. You can move from one state to the other, from one city to the other. You can find a whole new home. You can do whatever you want. I mean, again, freedom, right? That's the beauty of it. We have the ability, and it doesn't cost a lot to get, to the moving. Now, obviously, to start a business stuff, you find a way. You find a partner, someone to actually bring in, the capital to do stuff. But you have the skills. Somebody, there's always a way, folks. But do not lose hope, no matter what. You never give up because as long as you breathe, there is a chance to do better. And by the way, Rick, I've had quite a few discussions with many people that have made the difference in many lives today, despite their early days in
Absolutely.
life. Because a lot of us, we listen. We always hear this story about like, do you have any regrets? Would you have any regrets? Would you change something if you were to go back in time? I can tell you, I think the formula there is not that you have regrets. We did what we did, and you know what? We did it based on the circumstances we had then. However, if we can go back and change a couple of things because we know better,
Yeah.
I think everybody would do that. It's
Absolutely.
not like you regret what you did.
100%.
Now you can regret the bad thing if you did it, but the fact of the matter is like we can go back and maybe take off. Like, listen, if I shouldn't, like as you said, if you did not have to do those years there, you could have avoided them. Now, you can't go back in time, but someone else can learn that lesson. But if we ever had the opportunity to go back in time, there's so many things that each and every one of us can actually change. We made mistakes. And by the way, they're not failures, they're learning experiences. But
Correct.
now that we learned the tricks, we can just bypass all that, and just go straight to the good stuff. But that's the thing. But here's the thing, folks. The lesson learned is that we can do better. And yes, you can change your life for better. And there's always, and again, even as you've moved and changed and got successful, all they had to do is get one little hip surgery, which can happen to anyone, and they given to accidents to happen. And now your business is suffering because there is some elements that may see opportunity. That's always going to happen, folks. That's the other thing. But I love what you said, Rick, is that, for the most people, probably like, out of everyone that possibly can be your students, law enforcement, folks and agents,
Oh, yeah.
and but that's a beautiful thing because
They
as you said,
embraced me, man.
well, you respect them because you
Oh,
understand their
yes,
role,
100%.
and that's the difference. See, that's the thing. People don't. They may not get that part. Yes, in the real world, yes, bad guys, good guys, well, this stuff. We all
Right.
have labels, but really, when people get to know each other, they will understand the circumstances. They understand everything, and they'll respect that. And you know what? Once you know someone for the core, you know someone who they are, not
Absolutely.
what we label them to be or what their circumstances. Many people are just unfortunately they're into a set of things that actually they can't change, and they're stuck with them until they find a way out or there is a way out. But you did it well, and you've changed that, and now I love your system where you actually hold in accountable people that you train. The one-on-one concept that you're actually doing a certain amount of people that you are changing their lives, and it's something that you have a passion for. That's the other thing.
I love
you
it.
know as long as you love what you do and you
Oh
have
yeah,
passion for what you do, you can always be happy and make others happy.
that's it. And that's 100%. I tell people everybody should have a why. You know what I mean? Why are you doing this? And then you find out what your purpose is, maybe. All right. And then if you align that with your passion, that's the ingredients that all you need to live a perfect life. Like I love what I do, Hurricane. I really do. Like vacation, I'm on vacation. My favorite part of the day is when I get up and I start my day. I love it. I love going out there and changing lives because I've learned over the years to be selfless, not selfish. Anymore, it's not about me. It's what I can give away to them. I tell my students all the time, create the person you want to be and need to be, then give that person away. And that's it. Just constant rhythm. Pass it down. And again, be selfless, not selfish.
That's an amazing feeling when you are giving and you're not doing for you. And by the way, by doing it for others, you're fulfilling you. That's the thing. I mean, it comes with a beautiful price, and there is a satisfaction to it, and there is a good feel. I mean, it's like it never fails when you know that you're helping others do better and be better. I mean, listen, you paid your dues in life. And you know what? There's nothing now more than beautiful that you're able to help other people live a better life, a healthier life. And again, fitness is a great piece of health. I mean, you need to.
Oh,
And
100%.
by the way,
100%.
you and I, we had a joke about the age early on before we started the show.
Yeah.
You're in the bodybuilding and the strength training and all the stuff and the weights. That's building mass and muscle. And you know what? That's actually that helps aging less, than the non, weight and working and things like that. It's
100%.
a very important piece for our audiences that are listening. Weight training, you do your cardio, you build your cardio. That's needed because you want to keep, the stuff going. But certainly you want to keep that muscle mass, and you cannot do it without weight training or resistance training. And so you do that. And by the way, you got a nice little, picture of yours, that's going to come on the show.
Okay.
The one,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
That's a nicely ripped, shot there. But that's
In
what it
my
is. I mean,
50s.
that's the other thing. See, people don't realize,
Yeah.
folks. Your 50s are not the 40s or the 30s. Your body is not the same. You're gonna build. It takes a lot more. It's not the same. No one. By the way, we
I
shouldn't
was in the
judge each
best
other.
shape ever when I turned 50. The best shape of my life, I was 50 years of age. Yeah, I mean, it just shows you right there. Again, we were talking about mindset. Mindset is everything. If your mind is not right, you will not be right. The people that you involve yourself with will not be right. The majority of the things you do in your life will not be right until you're right. And I preach it all the time. I mean, that's my first program that I put people on is mindset and macros. I got to get their head right first, and I put them on a clean diet. So I get them on a macro-based diet with their mind right. Then we go on to the next level. Because if your mind's not right, nothing will be right.
So let's talk about that. The format. So you got a personal, a person to train.
Yep.
What does that look like in terms of program? I get it. You get them going. There is some accountability. But so you've just touched on the macro and the mindset concept. So let's talk about how that looks like. What is a normal time frame where someone starts the program and where they can start seeing some results?
I tell people to give me at least 3 months. I mean, they're going to see something within a month, but then that's just when they're starting to pick up the momentum. They really are. All depending, again, if they're in my mindset in macro program, they can take that on for as long as they need it. Because again, if their head is messed up, they're going to be messed up. But once they graduate that, and a lot of people just jump right into the training as well, where we do the group community. But what I do, Hurricane, is I give them non-negotiable tasks that they have to complete through the day. And one of them is getting up early. Now, they don't have to be a madman like me and get up at 2:30 a.m. every day, but I would like to see them get up at least by 5. At least by 5, and then we work off of that. If you can set it back 15 minutes a little earlier, and then a couple of weeks later, set it back 15 minutes. Because my theory on life is when it comes to working out, the majority of the population, if they do not get it done in the morning, they're going to find something in their life that takes away from them doing it in the afternoon. If they're married, if they have kids, if they have other obligations, something will pop up throughout your daily events that might take you away from working out. So if you get it done first thing in the morning, it's out of the way. Not only are you starting your day off in the positive direction, but you're burning calories throughout the day as well, and you just feel better. You perform better. You act better, and it's out of the way. You don't have to worry about it again until the next morning. So it's a good way of starting your day. And again, the majority of the population will have a kids game that they have to go to, a recital, or something's going to pop up in their life where it's going to take them out of the rhythm of going to work. Even if they're just mentally or physically exhausted from work, all depending on what they do for a living, that can take them out of the game as well. So when you're woke up, you're caffeinated, whatever you do to get your morning started, you're starting off fresh, you have your most energy, take advantage of it.
Well, thank you. And there's a fact about waking up early, and especially the early hours, just about sunrise. There's some red light, in the air. There's some energy in the air. There's a lot of talks about, getting those first rays of the sun, and grounding yourself and all this stuff.
Yep.
And you know what?
I love it.
Your day will be better. It is. And by the way, even religiously, people wake up to pray in all denominations. I mean, that's a good time.
Clock. Yeah, they say 3:40, between 3:40 and 4 o'clock is you get your most clarity.
There you go. So it is powerful, and I mean, listen, it is tough. I'm not saying it's easy, but especially because our work, schedules are aligned differently, and we have to. Sometimes you're not independent where you can control your day. You have to work in somebody else's schedule, and then you come back and you're exhausted. But then again, it's just habit, right? You instead of sleeping at midnight, you sleep at 9 or 10. And basically you get your sleep, beauty sleeping on the same hours that you need for the day. So there's ways to do these things, but it's just an important piece, as you said. It's every single thing, nutrients and food. What do you say to that, Nick? I mean, Rick, is there any food? Like, is there any?
That's 75% of your of everything. I mean, really. I mean, what you ingest is who you are. So you put junk in your food, you're going to be running off of junk. I mean, you're not going to sustain. You cannot outwork a poor diet. Bottom line. That's why I'm so firm. I tell people all the time, just through my mindset and macro program, even if you throw in some calisthenics, within 3 months I can have you looking like a bodybuilder, shredded, abs, the whole 9 yards. I cannot do it the reverse way. Get somebody in the gym working out, and they train like a beast, do everything I'm telling them, but they have a poor diet. You're going to see results, but you see more results when you actually zero in, you dial in on your macros, your diet, and you get that right. And it's not hard. All you're doing is you're counting your calories, your fat, your carbs, and your proteins. I mean, if you can't do that, you don't deserve to be behind the wheel of a car. You know what I mean? It's not rocket science, but it is somewhat science. And I tell people I perfected the majority of my life to it. So I break it down to its simplest form. I have a level, and then I start them off on a second level. And then all depending on their activity, how well they're actually performing and participating, I have a third level as well.
There you have it. I mean,
before they walk.
Well, yeah, but you cover it, all the basics. I mean, as you said, by the way, you gave the best picture that someone can work out, do all the stuff, but if the food and the nutrients are not there, you're not going to have the results. And by the way, unfortunately, that is real, because you hit the gym, but you go out, you get, you drink a lot, a lot of fries and wings and all the stuff. Now, I'm not saying that every now and then, sometimes we taste these things and they taste good, whatever, a little party here and there, but it's and you said, if you know your proteins, you know your stuff, you still can calculate correctly, so you can get the right levels in a daily intake. But it's just that whole, like, what your body's requirements are. You know how much protein you need for the day. You need how many sugars you need to get it to burn, and also, but those are things like maybe the average person may not know, and that's why we need someone that knows these things, such as yourself. You train people. You have a system in place. They join, and by the way, again, you said something powerful about the 3 months. I mean, you cannot see results. Yes, you can see some changes,
All
but
right.
a good transformation doesn't happen overnight. It
No,
That's just that, like everything else, right? It takes everything good takes time.
that's
So
right.
so
Hard work.
hard work
Hard
and
work and time.
you got to give it the time and just dedication.
No,
All right.
100%. People try to look for instant gratification right away, and they think there's some magic pill, potion, or powder that's going to do it. No, it's consistency, determination, discipline, hard work, and time, and that will get you the results.
That's quite a bit. That's quite a bit. But really, that's what it takes. I mean, it doesn't matter who is listening, where we are. Those are the elements of the basic things that we need to be able to get results and maintain results. And that's the other thing. This is not something that you do and you drop. Like uh, this is a long life relationship with your body and yourself and your mindset. And those changes have to happen. And you have to have commitment, and it's really, you know, uh, long and what do you call it? Enduring stuff. It's not going to be like, okay, I'm going to try it. And by the way, that's exactly what we hear the yo-yo diets. We hear all these little things. People
Yep,
get in, get out, these gyms, they do the different programs. I want to do this transformation program for 3, 6 months, whatever. But then you drop,
they drop.
and that's the hardest part about this. It's not, it's a marathon, as they say, not a sprint.
Not a sprint.
You gotta keep it up for the rest of your life, and it's
Well,
not easy.
Hurricane, if you look at it this way, the definition of diet is a habitual way of eating. Okay, so none of those Atkins, any of those keto diets, they're not long lasting. And if you just sit down and you grab a pen and a piece of paper and you figure out, okay, I'm going to have this amount of calories, let's just say 2,000 calories a day. And I'm going to have 200 grams of protein, I'm going to have 200 grams of carbs, and I'm going to have less than 50 grams of fat. And you just work off of that every day and you just start writing down your food. Now you're acknowledging it. It's becoming real. It's on paper. And you track it and you start readjusting it as needed. Now, if you have additional leftover calories and you want a piece of cake, you want a candy bar, you want a milkshake, and it fits into your macros, you can have it. So again, it's just training your mind and your body to do the right things. And if you veer off and still journal it down. So you're constantly aware of what you're putting into your body. So when it's time to get back on track, you're on track. Again, it's just simple math. If people that are college educated and street smarts and things of that nature, they do a lot of amazing things with their brain. If they would just put a percentage of that into their diet, which ultimately is your life. You're looking at your life. I tell people, you tell me that you would, die for your family, but why don't you try to live for them and get down with the food first? Because what you're putting in your body is who you are. You hear the expression all the time. If you pulled up with a Lamborghini or Ferrari, you're not just going to put regular gas into it. No, you're going to put high octane into it. Why? Because it's a Ferrari, it's a Lamborghini. Well, consider your body that. That is one of the greatest gifts of God. God is the greatest gift that your creator, whomever, gave you, was your body. Take care of that. That's the highest form of gratitude, is taking care of your temple. Why wouldn't
Well,
you?
it's amazing that you're saying this. It is technically common sense, but it's not common sense.
It's
For
not.
many of us, we do
It's
make that
not.
mistake, and because we have so much. Again, there's influence. There is marketing out there. There's products. There is excitement.
Yep.
We socialize, and it kind of comes with a price. And usually, the price is we eat a lot, we party a lot, we drink a lot, and all that. Like one of the main simple things are, for example, drinking alcohol, right? I mean, listen, people drink, but some alcohol is different than others. I mean, for example, beer is very common, right? And
Yep.
beer has a lot of calories, a lot of sugars, and things like that, and so it causes a lot of problems. You know,
It does.
and that's extra sugar that you might not even need. Like again, snacking, we have those habits of snacking, and
Yep.
people just kind of put in all the non-needed stuff in the body. As you said, it's like, as you said, the best thing is you throw in the wrong gas in that vehicle, and you're not going to get better. But unfortunately, these are real and they're happening, and we have we have diseases, illnesses that are really coming from these poor choices and behaviors. And that's the whole thing. I mean, I've had multiple shows about the nutrition, the diets, and things like that, and they all point to the same thing. We all can be better if we pick out good food and be selective of what we eat, the quantities we eat,
100%.
and of course a good regimen of workout and muscle building and things like that. And it's all. I mean, it's repeating itself over and over.
Rinse and repeat. I tell them all the time, rinse and repeat. And again, make it a way of life. I mean, I have no tolerance for alcohol and drugs at all. And people know that. I'm a little bit of a self-righteous individual. If you're a social drinker, why even do it? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, for those that do it, hey man, that's fine. That's great. That's okay. But why? I mean, I'd rather have some other form of calories because that's how in tune I am with my body. This is the way I think. And I don't expect everybody to be obsessed like I am or possessed. But again, I tell people all the time that idle time that you have, boredom is going to lead into desires. Desires always lead into vices, and vices can be food. It doesn't have to be beer or drugs. And then vices go into habits. They're your daily habits. So again, you want to create as many positive daily habits as you can have, and that's going to consist with eating throughout the day. That's going to be one. And then again, the following day, you rinse and repeat. Renzo Gracie had a saying, and I don't know if he probably still says it. What you do today will either make you better or worse tomorrow. And that's with everything. If you want to go out there and play grab ass with your buddies at the bar and shoot down a few shots and drink some beer, you're going to pay the consequences the following morning. And that's going to interfere with your production throughout the day. Now, again, I'm not down the ones that do it. It's just I don't have any time for it. I don't. I have too many positive things that I put throughout my day that would destroy me. It would just throw such a big monkey wrench into my rhythm, my flow, that it's not even worth the risk. Because again, I'm not fixing something that's not broke. But again, it's just those daily. And then when people drink, they make poor decisions. That's the first thing that leaves is your not your decisions, but your judgment. Anytime you're on some kind of drug or vice or alcohol, first thing that leaves you is your judgment. And usually it's your judgment of eating because you get hungry. And then next thing you know, you're eating bad food. That's it. Doritos, junk, just things that, you really don't need to be putting in your body.
Well, thank you. And, you said a very, very powerful line in there. I mean, you said many, but one specifically that I think everybody should make that, a rule. We don't have to die for our loved ones. We have to live for our loved ones. And I really enjoyed hearing that because, and not only just live healthier, because if you live and you're sick, you're just a burden. You're not on and themselves. As opposed to if you live healthier, because you can do more. As you said, even your performance and everything is going to be better, whether at work, at home, with your friends, your family, your kids. Things are going to be better. Now, you also, you kind of talked about I don't have time. Someone can say, well, yeah, you're older now. You're thinking about time. But even when you're young, folks, actually, that's where you need to make a lot of good decisions because, you don't want to get to the point where like your time is, ticking and you like start. Here's the thing. I can tell you this. I can relate to it. Before 50, you don't even think about time.
Right.
It is a fact.
Yep.
You hit 50. I don't know what happened, but you start thinking about time because you start calculating, like you start like figuring like, I got
and it goes quicker.
20 years to 70, 20, I mean, that's if you live 30 to 80. I mean, and we know 80 is not really, you don't see a lot of, top notch, bodies at 80. So you're already questioning, like, I'm on the downhill here. So you start thinking time. But, think about it way early. If you're in the 20s and the 30s, it's a good time to start thinking about those things. And even early on, if you can. Why not? Now, I get it. We're young. We've all been there. You go out, you want to have some fun. You want to, party with people and friends. It happens. But again, just as you said, healthy habits. Don't make that the habits. Maybe make that the occasional stuff. And, and you can still be ahead of the game. I mean, listen, you go to gym, you see a lot of young folks really pumping and doing good stuff, and it feels good. It makes you feel really like competitive. I wish I want those days back, but those days are limited and they will go on. Time is going to pass. You know what? No one is staying here for forever. We just got to do our bit and make sure that we do it right. And let's live for our families healthier and do the better things. Again, that's all there is. And even for you, let's like talking about selfless versus selfish. In this case, your self love is important. You need to be you first because you can't benefit anyone else.
That's
So
right. That's right. It's like the oxygen mask. Take it so you can save everybody else. And I got to that point in my life where I'm in a good position where, again, I'm very mindful of everything I do. So, if you have a certain part of your day or time that you kind of neglect something, I just know I got to double down the next day. And what I mean by neglected is maybe I wasn't able to make as many phone calls as I needed. I do have daily tasks that I adhere to, or maybe it's a few posts on social media that I found, putting out a video on YouTube. These are things that I do on a weekly basis that I hold myself accountable to them every single day. And I have it down to a system. It's a system, but life gets in the way. Maybe I have additional clients that are coming in here. Maybe it's a holiday, but it's one of those things that I'm hard on myself. I'm very hard on myself. And if you're able to start applying these principles at an early age, it just makes it a lot easier for when you get to be our age now. You're not playing catch up. It's already part of your life. And I tell you, for those that are looking to raise families and have kids or have kids, your weakness is their way out. So whatever it is, if you're that parent that's a sideline parent and you're on that couch eating a bag of chips and drinking some beer or soda, and you're telling your kid to go out and do some martial arts or play ball, they're like, well, you're on the couch drinking beer and eating potato chips, and you're my Superman. Even though Superman's like 380 pounds and he's a sack of what. Well, you know what I mean? You got to live by example. Bottom line, because your weakness is their way out. No matter what, they're going to want to emulate you and be like you because you are their Superwoman, Superman. You are their hero.
Yep. Wow.
Can't do it, man.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, again, you're doing your part. We're doing our part to bring some of the messaging to people. Hopefully we can, again, you hear a lot about the awakening and this is part of being awake and being
Absolutely.
aware, of who we are, what we have to do and so on and so forth. And it starts with, taking care of this. And this means you can take care better for your close ones and being, as you said, that role model for them and the hero that they should expect. Now, of course, folks, we don't force anything on anyone. Someone says, I'm happy in my skin. I don't care. I want to live this way. By the way, that's a choice. But I understand that choice comes with prices. And as long as you're willing, to endure whatever that price is. Now, someone can live, to 90 and 100 with, fat and all the stuff and all the wrong things. And yeah, it can happen. But again,
statistically, it doesn't.
Exactly. Statistically, that's the odd case and not the actual standard. And therefore, do you want to have, listen, diabetes is just the simplest thing. Do you see yourself poking yourself every day, a couple of times, to shoot insulin and you have up and down sugar and you're like rushing or like, you're going crazy. That's not something you want. Trust me, I am dreading that because I do have diabetes in the family and I look at everything because I don't want to get to that point where I have to do that. So it is, I'm talking about my personal experience here, but folks, everybody, you got to do what's right by you, whatever that is. We're not judging you. We're not actually forcing this message onto you, but you know what? Listen, it is available. These are things that can help you do better, be better. And that's all there is. So Rick, how can people join your program? And I mean, obviously you do it nationally, or internationally for that matter. How can they reach out to you and join your program if they wanted to?
They can go onto my landing page, Hurricane, and that's www.strengthcertified. It's strength-certified with an S. So again, guys, I spell certified with an S, not a C. Certifiedwithans.com. www.strength-certified.com.
And it's not a typo, right?
It's not a typo.
Nope. Yeah, just it's a trick, it's for to get things,
trying to get everybody's minds going, you know what I mean? And
that's it.
again, it's a simple landing page. All you have to do is book a phone call with me, or we can DM each other. But typically, I give everybody a non commitment, no obligation, half an hour phone call. So we kind of just figure out if it's for them or not. And the majority of the people do sign up. And if not, hey, listen, I'm fine with your response regardless. I treat everybody fairly. And next, that's it. Next,
Is the program for male and female or any specific
absolutely.
groups?
It
I
doesn't
mean,
matter.
age groups.
No, no. Again, I mean, I train teenage kids, so I have teenage kids. I mean, obviously, I'd like them to be at least the age of 13. But at the same point in time, the majority of my clients range anywhere from, I would say, 21 to 71.
Okay. That's 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 pretty diverse,
It is
audiences, and I'm sure they vary in how they adhere to it, but if they all follow the system, the results are going to be there, and that's all. I mean, obviously the metabolism is different, things are different, but
100% guaranteed, Hurricane. As long as they follow my blueprint to the T, and I can tell if they're lying to me because I get it all the time, and they expose themselves. 100%, 100% guaranteed results.
all right. Well, Rick, we've exceeded our hour a long time ago.
Love it.
But we had fun. I listen. I learned. I appreciate you being open about your life story and sharing the values. And for people, hopefully that we can help someone today. Not to fall into a trap in their early ages, but also we want people to really potentially be aware that they can do better for their health by joining a program, or at least knowing that they need to do something about it with you or elsewhere. But the idea is why not do something, take care of your business here and your health? And that's the best business you can have. Yeah. So any last words of wisdom that you want to leave our audiences with?
Like I was saying in the beginning, solitude helped me out a lot, knowing myself. And I mean, really being alone. And people would say prison time. I wasn't alone in prison unless you were in solitary confinement, which wasn't, I mean, I experienced it. However, even when you're in prison itself, you're around other individuals, you're other inmates. But, get some solitude, find some time with yourself. If it's reading, reflections, maybe meditating, if you do it a few times a week, and or if you go on to a long task, get to know yourself, because without knowing yourself, it's hard to get to know other people as well. And you got to be comfortable in your own skin to make other people feel comfortable in theirs.
Well, thank you. Oh, Rick, there was one thing we didn't talk about. Is that you're a biker and you belong to a family?
Oh yes, yes, yes. I was part of 1% motorcycle club, one of the largest in the world, actually, the top five. And it was something I experienced. It's something I loved, but there was a point in time where it was time to move on. And again, we were, multiple nationalities itself. It wasn't just 100% white. We had blacks, Chinese, Spanish, Asians. So again, with that, I think Sons of Anarchy kind of messed it up for a lot of the MCs. That's the motorcycle clubs out there. But yeah, it just gets back to being prejudgmental, judging people. And that's just human nature. I get prejudged all the time until they get to know me, and then they realize that I'm one of the biggest teddy bears out there, and I got a huge heart. But yeah, what they love the most and what I love about the most is when people actually come up and say hi to you. Most people want to be afraid and hide, and you have about 25 to 50 bikers out there. It can be intimidating, but we're just out to have a good time.
All right. Well, listen. I mean, it's a fact. That's a cool fact about you that we didn't talk about it, and
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's an interesting piece of life. I mean, when you're part of the community and you guys have
yeah.
these, I mean, you see that, like, you see some of these outings, on the road. Sometimes you got 100 bikers going through, and
Oh,
you go to like Daytona. I think there's a huge
huge
yeah gathering every year there. I mean, it's
every
like
year.
and just the bikes are just beautiful machines.
They
I
are.
mean, gorgeous
Man,
stuff.
I
I
still
mean,
ride. I still ride. I didn't have enough time to dedicate to the club. My time right now is just so involved in what I'm doing for the community, my community, that again, I had to be that's one way I had to be somewhat selfish to my group because of again it just needed more of my time and that's what I chose to do.
I don't think it's selfish. I think it's just that you are responsible and accountable to them. So,
Absolutely.
I
Yep.
mean, if you really, care for your group, you're gonna have to dedicate yourself to them, and and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're doing the right
100%.
thing.
Yeah. And I get a lot of my old guys that I used to ride with that train with me now too. So like I said, it's I still have the brotherhood. They're still family. I just don't ride as much with them.
Well, listen, why not, right? But the thing about you can ride anywhere, right? It's just
Oh, of course.
nationally, and so
Yeah,
they.
no doubt. No doubt. It's fun. Anybody who I was thinking about getting on a motorcycle, it's good therapy. We call it wind therapy. And there's a lot of truth to that. I don't know in your neck of the woods though, Hurricane. You got a lot of crazy drivers out here. It's wide open here country. So you get the free ride, the roads. Back in where
Uh,
you're in your neck of the
uh,
traffic is
here's
bumper to bumper.
It's congested, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing the bikers do have is that they can wiggle between the cars and move on
Oh
faster than
yeah.
any other vehicle. That's one thing.
Absolutely.
They don't have to
100%.
sit in there. They're just like Shazam right through, like, whoo, that's it. They gone.
That's right.
And you're like, shish. Oh man. Well, listen, Rick, it was fun, man, having you on. I enjoyed this discussion, and thank you for coming in and sharing your value and your really, I mean, a lot of good nuggets, for about life and health. I mean, it's we touch on everything, martial arts,
Yeah.
biking. I mean, we covered quite a bit of
You got it
ground there.
all.
You
And
got it
it was
all.
an honor. It was an honor, Hurricane. I appreciate you having me on here. Like we were saying earlier, it was amazing because I log on. I'm early for everything. That's just the way I am. It was the old Vince Lombardi saying, when you're early,
15
you're on
minutes
time. When
early.
you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, don't show up. It's just something that sunk in. So I'm always on about 10 to 15 minutes early. And you were right on. I was like,
Uh,
there we go. And you got a lot of followers. You typically the ones with a lot of followers are the ones that are like 3 minutes, 4 minutes late on me. I'm like, did they cancel on us or what? But I appreciate your time. You did an outstanding job interviewing, and we will reconnect again in the future.
well, thank you. And just one thing. I mean, that goes also for me. I mean, I just how I've been, synced from the beginning of my life. I'm always like, if I tell you I'm going to be on this time, I'm going to be on that time, and I'm always, early. I don't like
Love
to
it.
be late to anything. But also I led a lot of sales, and in say similarly. So Vince Lombardi's coaching is part of
Yep.
what we train on, and it's I learned that myself when I started my career path, and it stuck with me, and it's a great thing to have. There's nothing wrong with
Great.
that. Well,
Absolutely.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for being with us. All right.
Hurricane, thank you.
My
Peace.
pleasure. Peace. All right, folks, that's it. This is the end of our show today. Hope you enjoyed our discussion and you got a couple of things here for life that you can, either for yourselves or share with others. And yeah, spread the word out there, folks, and let's educate and enlighten others. And that's about it. I'm Hurricane H. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Bye for now.